Do you want to start this off a bit about telling us about your childhood? Because I know you were an athlete growing up.
Actually, I'm from England,
Okay.
and my dad was a wrestler, Jeff Ports, and I started wrestling when I was 8 years old. At 8 years old, I won my first medal, and I wrestled in England till I was 15. We came over to the United States, and that's when I started out in school, high school. I went to the high school in Fridley, Minnesota, and I went to high school in Oregon. That was real tough. There was some hard practices, and I wrestled in Plano, Texas, and ended up in Florida working out with Cal Gotch, and I worked out with Cal for about going on 6 months. And then when I was 17, I went back to England for 2 years. Came back when I was 19 and started. Well, I used to, when people used to want trying to get into business, they used to say, this kid's from high school, and if you can beat him, you can get to go with a real pro. And that's how I started. Then I started refereeing, and I also worked for the Jim Crockett's sister used to run a baseball team, and I also worked at a baseball team, wrestling, and refereeing, and eventually I went full time in the business. I really looked since I was 19.
Who did you look up to growing up as wrestlers that were already in the business?
Oh, well, apart from my dad, Billy Robinson, I loved superstar Billy Graham, uh, Baron von Raschke, uh, Khosrow Visseri. But when I went back to uh, England, I seen on TV, I saw the Dynamite Kid. And after I saw him, and I was like, wow, this kid's, well, he's just a little bit older than me. And I realized that I want to be like him, you know.
Now, did you meet him at all when you were young and you saw him at the matches?
I I, I saw him one time when I was 17. I paid to see him. Uh, Even though my dad was Jeff Ports, I could have, got in, but I wanted to go just like a fan. And I, he was really great. And he wrestled Jimmy Briggs. And when I was, I don't know if I was 20, I went to Calgary to work, and that's when I met Dynamite for real, And
And how was your experience with him?
great, fantastic, yeah, absolutely. When I was in Calgary the first time when I was 20, I couldn't get back in the United States because I had a H2 visa, which is only good for the state it's issued in, which is North Carolina. So I tried to get back in the country, and they said, "Where's your papers?" And I didn't have the right uh, working visa, so they won't let me in the United States. And I talked to Stu actually, and Stu said you won't get fat, not because I couldn't work in the United States, and there are 2 shows a week in the United States, and so I went back to North Carolina, but before I left, Dynamite, he picked me up. He took me out to eat, and I spent the night at his house and his apartment, and he took me to the airport the next day, and I just managed to get out of the country. I explained to the guy, what had happened, and he said, "I can do 2 things. I can turn you back, or I can turn around. And you can walk through." And he just turned around, walked through, and I ran to like the American side, and I went back to North Carolina and started doing the same thing, wrestling. Because Rick, Ric Flair, was my brother-in-law, and so that's where I started. I started wrestling in Florida. I actually started in full time in Florida, and then I went back to North Carolina. Then I went back to Florida, and the rest is history.
What was it like having Ric Flair as a brother-in-law? I'm sure your wife probably wasn't very impressed with him because he wasn't known to be the most faithful guy in the world.
Well, he was the most generous person. He was so generous. That's all I can say. He was so he you felt like he'd give you the shirt off his back. Unfortunately, as we got older, didn't get along the same. But yeah, but he was great. He put me over on TV, and he was really great.
Did he ever take you out partying or anything like that?
Oh yeah, yeah. He got me drunk a few times. Yeah, he sure did. Yeah.
Is he as wild as they say at the clubs when he goes out?
I don't know what he's like now, but he was pretty wild. He'd order everybody a kamikaze, and I don't think he actually drank as much as he pretended he drank. I really think he was kind of moderate in the beginning, but I used to hang out with Roddy Piper and Rick and John Sturd, Ken Patera, all these guys I looked up to. It was really cool.
Ken Patera is very popular on this channel. Do you have any stories about him?
Yeah. I mean, I was just talking with him, and every time I used to referee Ken a lot, and when I was like a buck 60, and he was so agile, and for a big man, and he'd leapfrog, and he was so impressive, especially for being as big as he was, and I hung on to those memories, which was a really big part of me. And he asked me tonight, when did I first meet you? And I told him it was 78 in Charlotte, So he don't have as much memory as I do, because he was so, yeah. I looked up to him.
There's a fan on here. Matt R wants to know, when you were working Oregon, did you ever know Billy Jack Haynes?
Sure, yeah, yep. He stayed at my house. I stayed at my apartment in Florida. Yeah, yeah.
He claims now that he was a big drug dealer back in those days, that he was involved with dealing large amounts of cocaine. Did you ever notice if that was true, or if that was true, was that something that he kept to himself?
Yeah, he kept it to himself. Yeah.
Did you ever witness any of his temper issues that he's kind of known for?
Uh, I'm trying to think. I seen him do it at the matches. I seen him, but I missed all the fights. The only he was in the room when Blackjack Mulligan uh, beat up. He used to wear a T-shirt that nobody calls me yellow. Captain. I don't know, but
The Cuban assassin Fidel Sierra,
no, no,
maybe.
no,
No.
no. Colonel Buck Robley.
Okay.
Colonel Buck Robley, and I was just walking in there, and Billy was in the room, and all I seen was Blackjack just splitting him open, with each punch. So that was over something personal, you know. But I didn't. I seen the aftermath of Tiger Conway Jr. He had two black eyes, looked like a raccoon, and him and Billy had some beef about something. But I wasn't there, But yeah, Billy could. Yeah, Billy could fight. Yeah.
He was married in Florida to a friend of mine, Jeannie Williams.
Mhm.
Did you ever have much contact with her? She's also British.
No, 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 no.
Dominic has a question for you. He's wondering, was Dusty Rhodes easy to get along with? And what are your memories of Sir Oliver Humperdinck?
Dusty was Dusty was a friend of my dad's, and Dusty was a person that give me a break in Florida, and when I was 20, and me and Barry, we made us a global tag team or something like that, and like he called me one time in Memphis, Tennessee, when I got myself in a situation where I nowhere to work, and I was sat in my apartment, and the phone rang. He said, I said hello, and he said, "This is Dusty," and I said, "Dusty, you?" He says, "Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream." He said, "How long will it take you to get to Florida?" I said, 24 hours. I can make it. And he put me right to work, And with he'd all he put me on a guarantee too. That was and as far as Humperdinck goes, I used to have so much fun with him. Uh, he went out with me on the night before I got married. It was me, Humperdinck, Scrappy McGowan, and Julie Valentine. And he got me in we had a big ruckus out in the parking lot, and but we had a good time. It was great, really great.
Michael Rode wants to know if you think Mike Graham was a draw in Florida.
Uh,
The son of Eddie Graham.
yeah, I know. I'm trying to think of say something nice. Yeah, he was a good worker, but I think everybody knew that he was Eddie's son, and he never had to work anywhere else. You can't. People get real tired real easy, you know, and I think that's what he suffered from. It's like overexposure, So he never went anywhere else. He worked a little bit with Greg Gagne for the junior heavyweight championship, but he was a good worker. But I don't. Yeah, I agree with.
I think it was Walter that was asking that.
Huh?
I think it was a guy named Walter that was asking
Well,
that if he ever drew it. He
yeah,
said, "Did he ever draw a dot?" Or no,
yeah.
Michael said that. There's
Mike.
Walter. Walter is asking if you have any memories of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, sure. My first memory is Japan. It was me and Andre the Giant against Hulk Hogan and Sakaguchi, you know. And we went out. He said, "Come out with me tonight." I said, "I can't." I said, "I told Dick Murdoch that I'd go out with him." And so I went out with Dick Murdoch, you know. The next day I seen Hulkster, and I said, you should have come with me last night. I told you to. He went out with Sylvester Stallone, for Rocky 3. Rocky 3 was just playing in the movie theaters over there. And in fact, me and Hulkster went to see Rocky 3 in Japan. And we went in the theater. The movie had already started, and it was all dark. Of course, when the movie was over and the lights came on, the people went absolutely nuts. They couldn't believe it that he sat right there. It was really, really great. And I used to go and we knock on a door, in the private clubs. And I said, I'm the bodyguard of the Hulkster there. And we used to go to the all the clubs around town we could get in because the Hulkster, he was he was so over with the people. And of course, the next time I met him was in New York, But I don't actually think he even. I just took it for granted that I changed quite a bit. I just took it for granted that he remembered Japan, and we got along fine. And I seen him when I was about 36, coming out of the gym, and he says, "Hey," I said, "I haven't seen you since Japan," and it was like 16 years ago. And I said, "No, we met each other in New York," and no. So I don't know how much. Like I said, I mean, the memory is very important to me. I got memories of me and Huckster going out with the head mafia guy, and we was in a Japanese restaurant, and the lady said, "No, no, no." She kind of leave, leave, leave. And just as we was leaving, the guy came in, and the tables turned, and we got uh, food and drink. Then he took us out to the geisha girls, and
Yeah.
he just took us out. He was great.
Fart Doctor wants to know, how were the rig rats in the UK compared to the US?
U.S. great. England, yeah,
Really? That's a surprise.
yeah. Well, that was like, 30, 35 years ago, and I was in England, and I was saying, you can, I mean, you're English cowards. I was really insulting them, and I was doing run-ins, things they hadn't seen before, which are normal for in America. And then I couldn't understand it, why nobody wanted to talk to me after them, because everywhere we used to wrestle, there used to be a bar, and in the bar, the people there really didn't like me, and they used to. I used to get in a microphone and talk a little bit for the next time we were going to be there. And as I was talking with an English accent, they say, "Shut up, Yank. Shut up, Yank. We can't understand you." So I'm from England, talking in English accent, and they're saying, "Shut up, Yank. We can't understand you." So, and then I said, "It's a good job. Uh, we were around in First World War and Second World War." Uh, that didn't go over real well with English people, because the promoter said, "Hey, kid," he said, "if you think about it," he said, uh, "the the fans, they dislike Americans more than they did the Germans, because like there were still people around then that remember the Second World War, and because in the Second World War, like you Americans, they had all the nylons and chocolate bars, and they were nicking all the English women, and see, kid." And so that's why he wanted me to stick with this Scott Magee from America. So
Matt wants to know if you have any stories about Kurt Hennig.
yeah, he's a good poker player. Yeah, we used to, when we was in Oregon, being in with we were the tag team champions, and we always used to ride together and always play poker, and I'd always lose to him. Uh, and then I left Oregon. They changed my name to Irish Pat McGee, and I had a hard time pulling off a Scottish accent. It's pretty close. Yorkshire's only 150 miles from Scotland, but most Scots people don't look like I do. I dark hair. Well, I used to have dark hair, and dark skin, dark eyes, and I I couldn't understand what I was doing, but Kurt, he was a real character. He was so much special, I always knew that he had something special. That he was gonna. He had the size. Uh, he was an athlete. He could wrestle. He could. I don't mean he was a world beater. I just mean he knew how to handle himself. Uh, in outside the ring, inside the ring, and I just knew he was going to make it. Just knew it.
Eric King would like to know what was your favorite wrestling federation to work for?
Well, oh, Florida, CWF, you know, it was it was. Uh, I knew the booker. I mean, Dusty. He was great, and with Rick put me over on TV, and I just, I just, I know, I just love the territory. Uh, but one of the most beautiful places I ever worked at was in Pensacola. You know, the sand is like sugar, you know, and the water is like an aquarium. So for looks, I'd say Pensacola, but for working, I'd say Florida.
And I
CW.
guess Ron Fuller was a good guy to work for. He seems like a nice guy when I've
Yeah,
talked to him.
yeah, yeah. It's all business. Uh, I wrestled there for about 8 months, and it was just fine. I never got anywhere, but that's when I met Jack Rougeau. He was working as Jerry Roberts, but He changes. He always on his boots. He used to have Jerry Roberts, but he could also have Jack Rougeau. So he changed. He started using his own name.
Yeah,
Uh,
he was one of my trainers, actually.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Has a lot of fun with
I guess
Jack.
that would have been his very early days in the ring when you knew him.
Yeah, yeah. Good,
Victor wants to know your opinion of the Macho Man.
great. I loved Randy. I met him in. Well, you know my dad from Charlotte, and uh, of course, you knew my dad, and I met him in Memphis when I worked in Memphis for Jerry Jarrett, and Jerry Lawler was the booker, and we worked with each other in Memphis, and we worked with each other in New York. Uh, we had we had some great matches. You know, uh, but you know, no, the most fun I ever had was in Calgary when I was working at Garfield Ports. Uh, as a heel, I mean that's where it's at. Where as a good guy, always got to tell the truth, and but as the heel, you can lie. My interviews got much better, and it was great.
Someone's asking if you ever wrestled Andre the Giant in your career.
Uh, I I I I know I never wrestled him, but I once uh, kind of a half-assed uh, attacked him on the bus. You know, I thought I could beat a giant. Can you believe that? I thought I could beat a giant. I mean, that was my first mistake. He got me and he stuffed me under the seat. He kept me there for about half an hour. So I don't recommend it.
So what? You challenged him and he put you under the seat?
Right? Yeah. I mean, he, he, he I went to grab him, and I tell you, I never felt. I mean, I wrestled lots of guys, but I never felt the strength. Never felt the strength that like Andre had, and he had my arm, my back, and he said, "Give in, give in, give in," and I said, "You can break it off, but I'll never give in." Of course, I was, if it had kept on going, I would have given in, but yeah, I could feel him loosen up in one arm. I whipped around, and that's when I really messed up. Uh, that's when he got me and stuffed me under the seat. Of course, I was only 195, 200 pounds.
Someone wants to know if you think your biggest win was over superstar Billy Graham for the Florida title.
That, yeah, that was it. For me, like I was 15 years old the first time I met Billy, in Texas, you know, uh, and we used to work out at his house, and we would work out on the road. And when I came back from I think it's Memphis, my first night in uh, Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, Billy put his shoulders down, 1, 2, 3, right there in the ring, and I couldn't believe it. That that is one of my most favorite times of all. I was so he was so glad to do it. You know, he was really special. And when I beat Rick on TV, that two of my highlights.
So you actually beat Ric Flair on TV too. I didn't know that. Could you tell us
Yeah,
that story?
yeah. Uh, if you look on, don't look. If you just put in Ric Flair versus Scott Magee, I think it's got like 300 views, and I beat him with a German suplex. You know, I think he must have seen me. He liked the way I did it. You know, and yeah. So he took 9 minutes of the match. Of course, I got the finish, and everybody I everybody came out from the dressing rooms to congratulate me. Uh, he was really great.
Myron Edwards wants to know your memories of winning the Florida tag team titles with Barry Windham.
Yeah, yeah. That was we won. We won a tournament. I think of 6 tag teams, and the last match was against the Assassins, and I think Barry went over, and we won it. And I think we're the youngest. He was 19, and I was 20, and we were the youngest. I just read yesterday we were the youngest uh, guys to win the titles in history. So that's special. In fact,
Did
that's a
you know Kevin Sullivan much working
sure,
the Florida
yeah,
titles?
sure, yeah. Then in that first Starcade, me and Johnny Weaver against Kevin Sullivan and the Purple Hairs, and he was a very. Uh, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the heck out of it. Uh, of course, Kevin cut me up pretty bad, but yeah, he was great. I I worked with Kevin loads of times. He's nice and stiff.
Yeah, I can imagine. He now works out here in Texas. He's one of the bookers for the company I'm working with in Texas called SWE Fury. So I'll actually see him next weekend.
Well, tell him Scott McGee said hello.
And
Uh,
there was a fan on here asking if it meant anything to you to be on the first Starcade.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the first Starcade and the last Tango in Tampa. There was like 30,000 people there. We worked at the old Tampa Stadium, which is now pulled down. But yeah, the last Tango in Tampa and the Starcade. There was a special feeling that night. You knew you was not just a regular match. It was like I know it sounds kind of corny, but we could feel the electricity in the air. It's first the cable entertainment. Uh, I think it ever first arcade.
Yeah, I think it was before WrestleMania even.
Yeah, I think so.
There's a fan you already mentioned about winning the tag team titles, but they want to know how Barry Windham and Blackjack Mulligan, his dad, were outside the ring.
Barry was Barry was great, uh, and his dad was to me a real gentleman. Of course, I didn't cross him. Uh, when I was just refereeing, I always used to drive Blackjack around. I drive Blackjack around, and Barry was in Texas, and he was hauling the ring, and then he came to Florida, and I came down from Charlotte, and we hooked up, tag team.
Chuck Harris brings up that you were Gordon Soley's favorite Met wrestler. Any memories of Gordon Soley?
I, I know he was great. Uh, he was really first class, and uh, I, I know. One of the funniest things was I said on TV, "I'm 21 years old and I'm hungry for success." But I said, "I'm 21 years old and I'm hungry for sex." So we're gonna do that one again, you know. But he was great.
Chucky wants to know why you quit wrestling so young. He says he thought you were on the verge of a huge push.
Well, when I in April in '87 through early '88, I was working as Garfield Ports against Brian Pillman and Bruce Hart, and my tag team partner was the Great Gamma. So I was wrestling as Garfield Ports, the financial advisor for the Karachi Vice. So
What did you think about Bruce as a booker? He obviously had some good ideas, but there's a lot of controversy around Bruce.
yeah, uh, he liked. He was the boss first of all, and I was working with him every night, and he spent like 4 months working up to this match between me and Brian Pillman and Greg Garmer and myself, and I had to go about 2 weeks before the incident. I had a big car wreck, and I didn't go to the hospital. I got somebody to stitch my head, and about 2 weeks later, I think it's about 2 weeks later, I had two blood clots in the left side of my brain. One in the temporal and one in the carotid artery, and that just finished me. I couldn't speak, couldn't move it. This my right side, couldn't even feel it, and I had to. They actually thought I was. I thought everybody looked so sad, because I couldn't speak and I couldn't communicate with anybody. So my ex-wife, she brought me a bodybuilding magazine, and I started looking at it like I was, because they said, he's a vegetable, so don't even try and communicate with him. And so I started reading the magazine like I was actually reading it, turn the page with my left hand, and just trying to show the people that I'm locked inside this body that can't talk, can't go to the bathroom, can't even feel it, but my head was okay, you know. And then Dynamite Kid, that's when I was in hospital. That's when he had he got his four front teeth knocked out, and he came to see me in hospital with his four front teeth missing, and he came and got me out, and I stayed at his house for about, I don't know, probably 6 weeks, till I was strong enough to travel back to Florida, and that's why uh, really that's why I finished so young. I did uh, I did go to Yugoslavia. I went with Rocky Johnson and Steve Strong. Like, he was full of has-beens, wannabes, never was's. We went over there for Yugoslavia. Uh, I did. I did try to make a comeback, but that's because wrestling was the only thing I knew. Like, when I was 16, my dad said, "Do you want to go to school or do you want to wrestle?" I said, "Wrestle." So I spent the next 6 months working out with Carl Gotch, and but and I wrestled one time for Steve Kern, just independent shows. Steve Kern and Mike Graham just around Florida. Me and Denny Brown, we went to the Bahamas one time, and I thought, I didn't know. I thought I was having uh, another incident, and so that was it. I just packed it in. But I made a comeback in, I think it was 2010. I made one appearance. I knew this guy. Well, my son. He was his friend, a young 21-year-old. He was 19 when he started wrestling, and he had a tumor on his right on his uh, right at the base of his skull, and he managed to get it out. And about a year later, he was trying to get back into business, and I called Linda Marks, who's a promoter around um, in Alabama, and I said, if you use Dustin, I'll, because she's always asking me to come back and wrestle, and I told her I'd do it for free as long as she used Dustin. So she did, and the match is out there somewhere. Because I know that the TV was there, but I couldn't hear myself. I couldn't hear any crowd uh, or what was going off with the sound. But with a little match, got put him over, and that's it.
You
But
mentioned Dynamite came to see you after he got his teeth knocked out by Jacques Rougeau. Was he
yeah,
planning on getting any revenge at that time? Because I was always surprised that he kind of left WWE quietly after that.
I if he had, he kept it to himself. You know, uh, like I lived with Dynamite and Michelle and Bronwyn, you know, till I got strong enough to travel. But he never, he was never the same after, he started having seizures, and that's when they started after he got his teeth knocked out. And so he never was quite the same. I mean, I don't like to say it about Dynamite, but he was never quite the same.
Raj Farish wants to know if you have any memories of the Iron Sheik.
Oh yeah, yeah. I met uh, the Iron Sheik when he was Khosrow Vaziri in I think I was 15, and he was about 200 pounds, and he'd come over to the apartment, you know, and uh, try and show me moves. And I said, but my coach said we, and uh, so I didn't get the best out of it. If I just listened to him, because he was a pretty good wrestler, and I just met him at 15, and then I met him, of course, when I went up to the WWEF, and he was up there, and he was nice to work with, real nice.
Daniel wants to know any memories of the Ribera Steakhouse in
Yeah,
Japan.
sure, yeah, yeah. I used to have the Ribera uh, jacket with a logo on the back, but when Dynamite and his girlfriend came over to Danny Spivers, uh, she asked me, "Oh, can we switch jackets?" And so I said goodbye to the Ribera Steakhouse, and I wore this some gym logo. But she got the best deal. Uh, that the steak too that was good, nice steak.
Now, you mentioned earlier about your tussle with Andre the Giant, but you were actually tag team partners with him in Japan. Who put you guys together? Obviously, he must have liked you if you were his partner.
Yeah, uh, I have no idea. Oh well, you know, of course, my relationship with Carl Gotch, uh, it was like he was almost. I don't want to say he was like uh, a dad to me, but he was really. And I know that in Japan he's really well respected, and he uh, told Inoki just look after him when he's over in uh, I think it was Takada who told me, but he said, "Will you look after uh, Scott when he comes over here?" So I don't know if that had anything to do with it. Uh, I don't know. Well, I'm sure it did. Yeah. What am I kidding? But yeah, I think that's probably why. But if Andre didn't like you, that was it. You know, I won't be wrestling with him. You know.
Ninja Truth wants to know if you worked with Roddy Piper. You mentioned earlier you were friends with him.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I worked with him in Florida. I think uh, he came down to Florida for about three months, and he came down just as a commentator at first, and then he came down to work. And I remember one time me and Terry Allen was a tag team in Florida, and I think I ran in the ring and I helped Terry and took Terry's place or something. And uh, I remember, yeah, he got his hands and put them in my thing, went like that, and he really he scraped my gums. I and they it was they they really bleed, you know. And but that I think I when I went to when I went to Charlotte after uh, Starcade, he said he said to me, he said, "Look," he said, "Don Owens is looking for somebody a little bit bigger than Chavo Guerrero, and I'm no giant, uh, but." And he said, "You can go up there and just try see if you like it." And Billy Jack was coming to Florida, and I jumped at the chance, you know, because uh, Jimmy Crockett was very happy about the way the match turned out in Starcade, and he said, "All right," he said, "go learn how to work on top, and then you can come back here and go straight on top." Of course, I messed up every, you know, uh, they changed my name to Irish Pat McGee, and I didn't like the Irish. I hard time pulling off the Scotch thing, Scott Scott thing, uh, but I didn't like the Irish Pat. I just I kind of took off, you know. I really ruined it. Uh, I thought I'd really ruined my relationship with Roddy Piper, but he he understood, you know.
Philip wants to know if you have any memories of Kendo Nagasaki.
Which one? The English one or the?
Probably the English one, I would imagine, but I'm more familiar with the English one, anyways.
Yeah, I never wrestled him. When I was wrestling, he was not wrestling. Uh, but the American Kendo Nagasaki, I wrestled him many times in Florida. You know, he used to spin around, spit green out. What was it? Okay, I think. But Kendo, he was okay. Yeah, he was hard to commute to understand because he didn't speak English. You know, and he throw you in the ropes and you don't know what he's going to do to you. You know, but he was okay.
Mitch wants to know if you have any stories about Iron Mike Sharp.
Yeah, nice guy, a big guy. Uh, he'd always, he used to wear the wrist guards, so tie him real tight. But he was a nice guy, like working with him.
Yeah, he would soap himself up for like
Yes.
hours
Oh
after or something
yeah.
like that.
He was oh man. He'd work first of all, he'd work out real real hard, push ups, squats, the rubber bands. He told me I don't have the time to go to the gym anymore. Uh, but I can keep my size by using the cables, but I'm not strong. But I can keep my size by doing the push-up squats and cables, and yeah.
Now, John Flower wants to know if Eddie Graham's suicide was the reason that you went for WWE after, and he once heard that you helped book Florida.
I did not help book Florida. Uh, I was Brian Blake called me on Super Bowl Sunday and said Eddie just shot himself in the head. Of course, I couldn't believe it, and because I just talked to him, you know, uh, the day before, because I said I didn't like with the way things are going with me, and I said I'm going to leave, you know, I'm I'm going to go. Thinking about going back to England. I never been to England. I never wrestled there. And when I heard they'd commit suicide, that I, that made my mind up for me. I went back to England.
Is it true that Buddy Rogers was one of your trainers?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
did that come about? Because I haven't heard of him training too many people. And what was he like in real life?
He was great. uh, what happened was he was the assistant booker in Charlotte, and he had these two huge twins, identical, that were like 6'5", and they had naturally good abs, wide shoulders, small, tiny waist, and he would try and teach him, you know, and I would be there as a stand-in, you know. Uh, that's what I do, you know. Any anytime he was in the ring, I was there, you know. Uh, he was he he said to me, I'll have to uh, start a junior heavyweight champion ship in the Carolinas, and uh, I'll make you the champion. And I thought that was real nice of him to do, to say anyway. And he worked with Rick. I think it was '58, and he worked with Rick a couple of times. And I once I once got a call from Josh Scott, and he said, "Can you pick Buddy up and bring him to the office?" So I said, "Sure." And I went down there, knocked on the door, comes out, and I got a blue beetle, a superbug, whatever it's called. And he looked at me and he said, "I heard about these cars, but I never been in one before." And his knees touched the dash, and I didn't have any air conditioning. So, but it was I was young, and it was nothing but fun.
William Smith wants to know what your workout routine was like. He says he remembers you as being more athletic than Brock Lesnar.
Is that a joke?
I don't think so.
I think Brock's a legend. You know, I don't think you know.
Well,
So,
either way, whatever your opinion is, what were your workout routines like back then?
oh, I do a lot. Used to do a lot of free squats. You know, I had to be ready anytime Carl called me over, and I knocked out. You had to be able to do 500 squats without stopping in 15 minutes. Uh, so I used to do a lot of free squats, lots of rope climbing. Uh, I used to do those Hindu push-ups. Uh, Carl used to have his garage looked like a torture rack, you know. And I used to. He had a big dummy, leather dummy, and I used to suplex. I used to suplex that. Uh, and then Carl had said to me, "Oh, no, don't you touch them weights." And I said, "No, Carl." And of course, I finished there, and I got, you know, to do the standard routine.
Now, you had some matches with Harley Race.
Yeah,
Any memories of those and what Harley was like outside the ring?
yeah, he was great. Uh, I first wrestled Harley when I was 20, and they it was the winner of the Battle Royal got to wrestle Harley, and of course I didn't expect nothing, and Dusty said to me that you're gonna win the Battle Royal, and then you're gonna wrestle Harley in West Palm Beach, and he said, it's an honor just to wrestle him, and I said, yeah, and I wrestled him many times in Florida. I wrestled him many times up in New York. He didn't even give a finish and say we'll call it in the ring, you know. So he was very close with Dynamite. Yeah, and yeah, there was a lot of respect there. And Harley Race, he's a king, you know. And he said, I heard it. I heard Dusty Rhodes say Harley is actually a better worker than Rick, because Harley can work with anybody and make them look good. But I don't know if he was. I don't know. In my opinion, it's a close tie. I'd rather say it's a tie than get into who's best than that. But I wrestled Harley many times.
Did you ever witness Harley in any of his barroom altercations outside the ring or fan attacks?
No.
Now, as far, I see some people in the background there. There's a couple more questions here. What was your favorite match of all time? Would it have been the Ric Flair or Billy Graham one, or is there another match that might be more rare that we might not know about?
Yeah, there's matches with Dynamite Kid. There were some great matches with Brian Pillman. You know, we had some. I thought they were real good. If you look up Brian Pillman versus Scott Magee, I mean Garfield Ports, but those two matches, Billy Graham, I've been a fan of him since I was about 15 years old, and to beat the world champion, I mean that's like, I mean on TV. You know, that was unbelievable. So those two matches, those are really the highlights. You know, I just always go back to Billy and Rick.
Things you'll never hear, Hannibal, is someone saying that you are the highlight of their career or their time. Scott's been around legends. He's a legend himself. You have been graced with his presence. And you know what? I think your time is up. Okay? What do you have to say about that?
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to him and getting to know about his career. And I'm actually going to look up some of his matches with Rick and Harley tonight. And it's too bad that you're cutting us off, Captain. But one of these days, I'll get my hands on you.
Yeah, you wish, okay? And next time, you should use a little sun protector because it looks like the sun got its hands on you. Good night.
I got a little burnt today.
Yeah, you're lucky it's only burnt, okay? Because when I get through with you, they'll be worse than burnt. You'll be snapped in half.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button.